This is Philly Talk with Philly Mike. Talking Sixers in the bird gang, that's our life. Competition, we ain't scared, yeah, that's what we like. Win or lose, you know we showing up and we gon' fight. You see we strive for the sky every day that go by. And every single week we screaming fly, Eagles fly. This is Philly Talk with Philly Mike, yeah. This is Philly Talk with Philly Mike, yeah.
What is going on, everybody? I go by Philly Mike, host of the Philly Talk podcast, and today we are here with a special guest. It is draft week, and he's busy. He got radio shows, podcasts, YouTube, wherever you need to find him, he's there. How you doing, Derrick Gunn?
Good, man. How you been?
Hey, I'm a little. I'm not as stressed as the Eagles are, or someone like you who's just everywhere. I just got to worry about me, but I'm very excited for this week. Thursday should be a very interesting day, to say the least.
Yeah, you know what? I know a lot of people are getting jacked up because it's getting closer and closer. But as I said on my new show, Sports Take, with Rob Ellis and Barrett Brooks earlier today, I'm at a point now. I'm sick of talking about the draft. I want this draft to be over with. I want the players to be selected, and I'm going to get on to talking about who they picked, why they didn't pick this player or that player. I've seen all the hundreds and hundreds of mock drafts. You know, as we all know, after the first one or two picks, that's when things get crazy. Teams trade up, teams trade down. Teams don't take the player you thought they were going to take in number 3, 4, 5, and 6. You know, there's always a player or two that jumps up on the board that you don't expect, especially a quarterback that you don't think is going to go as high as they did, end up going a lot higher than they should have and could have. And so I expect this draft to be more of the same, especially on the first night.
Yeah, I think the quarterback run, when will it happen and where will it happen, is going to be big because, listening to the radio myself, doing my due diligence with all the mock drafts, whether it's Tom McShay's or Mel Kiper's or Daniel Jeremiah, they all have it differently. I've seen quarterbacks go as early as 2 to the Lions, Malik Willis, and then you've seen a couple go later. What is your take on this quarterback group, and do you believe it's going to be sooner or later, the quarterback run?
I think the group overall is mediocre at best. You know, I know a lot of people are high on this Malik Willis. He has a laser for an arm. He can do a lot of things like a Michael Vick, but he does make a lot of mistakes with the football as well. He takes off and runs a little bit too soon at times for me. Kenny Pickett is another quarterback, the kid out of Pitt, who a lot of people seem to be high on. They claim that he might be the closest one to being pro ready at this particular time. But I think all of these quarterbacks coming out this year are projects, and they're going to have to sit and wait their turn. Even if a quarterback needy team takes one of them in the first round, like a Carolina, I don't think they're going to step in and be under center right away like a Trevor Lawrence down in Jacksonville. I don't think there's a quarterback in this class that's close to a Trevor Lawrence in this particular draft. I don't know if there's going to be a so-called run on quarterbacks like we've seen in recent years. I think you might be lucky to get 2 drafted in the first round. Where those 2 go remains to be seen. Will it be Detroit? Would the Giants take another quarterback with so many needs? I don't think so. Carolina might be one of those teams. They sit in the 6 hole right now. But I don't think there's going to be that so-called run on quarterbacks like we've seen before.
Yeah, quarterback desperation in the NFL is at an all-time high for about 15 of the teams, right? I think you can lock down 12 teams that are willing to stay with their guy. The other, 17, 18, whatever you want to do, them have to get to 32. They're not necessarily looking exactly for we must do something now, but they're keeping their eyes out. You got the teams like the Steelers. Will they move up? Saints, I don't know. But I agree. I don't initially see it, but you just never know. And whatever quarterbacks go before the Eagles only going to help the talent that we want, right? Us as fans who are looking at, get some defensive players on this roster, looking at the wide receiver position still because of the failures in the past. Let me ask you, though, if you had to take a guess, and it's all guesswork at this point, do you think the first pick of the Eagles will be at 15, or will Howie move up the board, not saying all the way up in the top 10, but do you think he makes a little move, somewhat like he did last year, to get up in there and get his guy in Devontae Smith?
Well, I think it's going to be determined how the board plays out. You know, when you look at when you look at positions like edge rushers and wide receivers, it's a decent class, so you don't have to get fidgety and jump up to get what you want. When you look at the cornerback position, if they decide the cornerback is their top priority, the cornerback class is a little thin this year. So if you want to get one of those top cornerbacks, especially if players start dropping like offensive linemen or other defensive linemen, and the cornerbacks start sliding down the board a little bit, you may want to jump up to make sure one of the teams in your division, like the Giants, who have 2 picks, they have the 5th and 7th pick. You got Washington with the 11th pick. And I would say more so than Washington. I don't think Howie's going to give up enough capital to get up in the top 6 picks, but he might give up enough to leapfrog past Washington and that 11 pick to get a cornerback or maybe even a wide receiver that he wants. But if they decide to stay where they are, I think they'll go wide receiver and edge rusher with 15 and 18 from people that I've talked to and things like that, and because there's enough diversity at those positions where they would feel comfortable getting what they need.
Yeah, and I think at 15, when you look at the wide receivers coming out of this class, the Chris Olaves, Garrett Wilson, Drake London, Jameson Williams, even the Treylon Burks and all them, I think there's going to be one of the guys that the fan base will like, and one of the guys that I think the Eagles can, really get right at 15. We don't know exactly who it's going to be. There's been some ties to Drake London, to the Eagles. What is your take on just this? If I just some of the names I said, are you higher on Drake London, or are you one of them guys who I've heard also talking? I'm on this side where I think the lack of separation, I like his height, I like his 50-50 catch radius and what he can do there, but I'm not too fond of that pick at 15. What is your take on Drake London?
I think when you look at the wide receiving class in general, there's 5 or 6 receivers I wouldn't mind having it all, and London is one of them. I like his ability. Does he still have a learning curve? Yep, but I like his ability. I like his acceleration off the ball. He's the biggest wide receiver in the class is 6'4", 225. Now, he's not this burner, but, he's got such a great catch radius and he's got so much athleticism that he could be a guy that could really help. I mean, you still have Devontae Smith. The Quez Watkins, who can stretch the field, is still learning at this level, but he can give you that deep ball threat as well. This kid London is the kind of guy who can take a bad pass from a quarterback and make it look good and put it on somebody's highlight reel, and so I would not overlook him, whatsoever when you consider what he's done as a collegiate player. He can also get a little bigger, a little stronger on his frame. He's 224 now. If you put an extra 5 pounds on his frame, that's not going to hurt him. He can get a little stronger to deal with the press coverages he could face. But he's definitely one of those receivers. If I had my pick, it would definitely be Jameson Williams out of Alabama. Now, I know he's coming off that ACL tear. I don't know if he's going to be on the board. He might. I don't know if he's going to be on the board. But the fact that, you look at what this young man did when he was healthy. Now, there's a guy who stretches the field, played at the highest level you can possibly play at down at Alabama, played in the best conference in football and excelled at a high rate. Whenever he's healthy, he can jump in and be somebody's number one receiver for their offense. I just don't know if he's going to be on the board if the Eagles stand pat at number 15. Even coming off that ACL with modern technology and medicine the way it's being now, he should be ready to go by the time training camp rolls around. And this is a kid that can be an instant star in the NFL.
Yeah, I didn't get to drop my video with everything going on and the Sixers making their playoff run, but I wanted to do a top 5 wide receiver video, and I honestly got him as my number 1 when it talks to skill set. I believe if it wasn't for the ACL, the Eagles would have no chance. I believe he'd be going top 10.
No question.
He'd be the first one off the board. And again, I am not a guy who says Drake London wouldn't be able to get it done at the NFL level. I just think, looking at Jameson Williams, Garrett Wilson, even a guy like Chris Olave and Treylon Burks, I've been low-key putting in there out of Arkansas, a guy who's 6'3", not as big as Drake, and he didn't run that great when it comes to 40, but you can see the speed on tape, so I think he gives you a little bit of both. You don't necessarily got to get a burner with what Quez can do, and people really low-key don't understand. This was a running offense. Quez was the second or third option. He was better than Reagor, but the Eagles forced Reagor out there. If you look at snaps throughout the whole year, Reagor out-snapped him. But this is a guy in a running offense with a first-year quarterback who was a 6th-round pick, and he got 647 yards as the third guy. There's definitely potential there, and we've seen him do not just the long ball. He caught some, pretty 50-50 contest ball. So I like his trajectory. I just think if you can get that 1 or 2, whether it's Devontae going 2 because number 1 outperforms him, or this guy filling in his number 2 role, I think will be good. But you definitely see the Eagles attacking more defense in this draft, right?
Oh, yeah, I think, and rightfully so. I mean, this is a defense that played decent but could play a lot better. I thought they did a good job picking up 2 linebackers during the offseason, but they need another cornerback opposite Darius Slay. And that's why I believe even if they drafted a cornerback high in the draft, they may bring in another low-tier veteran. There's a whole bunch of low-tier veterans that have proven themselves that are sitting out there in that 28 to 32, 33-year-old range that could help this team on a 1-year contract. All these corners sitting out there are now going to get 2, 3, 4-year contracts. There's a reason they're sitting out there. But, Howie Roseman is pretty good at picking off free agents to fill spots where he needs. Bring in a veteran, help him groom the young quarterback to make that transition, because it's going to take about a half of a season for even a first-round pick to get acclimated playing this game at this level. And it's nice to have that buffer of having somebody who can groom him, Darius Slay, another veteran presence where you can rotate them, so that they're fresher in the fourth quarter. They definitely need another edge rusher. Bringing Derek Barnett on a 2-year deal. I know a lot of people are down on him because of all the mental mistakes he's made, but Derek has shown flashes of brilliance at times. He can get to the quarterback. He's got that up and under move. He can get off the edge and get to him. Brandon Graham's coming off Achilles. I talk to Brandon all the time. He's in a good place right now. And he'll be full ready to go come OTAs and training camp. Of course, the coaches will hold off on him and won't push him as hard as they will some of the younger players. But you still need another guy coming off the edge. And I wouldn't put it past this team to even look at the D tackle situation. I mean, that's a stacked position right now when you have Trayvon Hargrave. You got Cox, who's been there forever, and then you got Milton Williams. That's a pretty good nucleus there. But who's to say Cox will be there after 2022, and you want to have another guy you can just transition and get him in there right away? So, we keep talking about the cornerback, the edge rushers, but you got to figure D tackle into the equation as well with this Eagles team.
Yeah, I know earlier in this whole draft prospect, I know one of the 2 first invitations to the NovaCare complex when you got the 30 college interviewees you can do was both the Georgia boys and Devontae Wyatt and Jordan Davis. Again, we got to talk about wide receiver just because it's a real possibility. For the largest part of this offseason, I was convinced and I was okay with going 2 defensive players. I've recently, in the last couple of weeks, after actually the big wave of free agency, really not going out and getting no veteran wide receiver, all the guys that were out there, I came to the conclusion that we really might use one of these first-round picks. And I agree with you there. The cornerback depth past Stingley and Sauce is not top tier, but I still think you can get some work from a guy like Khair Alam and Andrew Booth Jr. I don't know exactly where Trent McDuffie falls, but if we end up using 1 pick on wide receiver, again, this all depends how the board feels, but what do you think is the next most important position that you can also tie to the people that will be there around 18 or something? Or can you see Howie saying, you know what? Let's go get some more capital and move that 18th pick back?
I don't put anything past Howie, but to me, getting somebody who can put pressure on the quarterback is a priority. The Eagles were one of the worst teams in the NFL in terms 31st. Of quarterback sacks. So they need some guys that can get up in a quarterback's face. So that's why I said an edge rusher is a priority, and there's some pretty good ones on this board that they can still get if they stick at number 18. Even if they drop down a few spots, they should still be able to get one of them. But we don't know how much longer Brandon Graham's going to play, or how much longer he's going to be usable for the Philadelphia Eagles. As much as they've loved Brandon Graham, as much of an ambassador as he has been to this organization, he has been a consummate locker room guy and player on the field. He's been a great leader, but he's 33, about to be 34 years of age now, and he's getting up there in age. And so you got to start talking about how do you replace a Brandon Graham? And so when you look at the potential of edge rushers out there. Who better to help tutor some of these young guys than a Brandon Graham? He's worked with Josh Sweat. He's worked with Derek Barnett. He's been a great mentor to a lot of guys coming in. And, we had him on our show Sports Take last week. And he said, hey, you know what? He said, a lot of people say, hey, you know what? I'm not going to be helping these young guys try to take my job. But Brandon said it best. He said, I'm going to do everything I can to help them make the transition from college to pros, because once they're up to speed, that helps me save my body. And I'm fresher in the later quarters of a game as well. So, I like his approach. And so if you get one of these young edge rushers in here, Brandon Graham takes him under his wing, that's a great position to be in for this organization.
Yeah, and we were about to see soon. So I know you were very busy. I don't want to hold you up. I got one more question. This is pretty much just your best guess and what we'll make.
Yeah.
If Derrick Gunn, after the first round, right?
Yeah.
First round's over. You wake up Friday. What would be the perfect scenario through D Gunn's glasses? What if we came out with, and this is just a guess, who knows who actually falls there, but if we could get bang and bang, you don't even got to say if we move up or back. If we come out the first round with these two players, D Gunn is feeling really good.
Well, I'm glad you asked me that, because to me, it's a Bermuda Triangle. So I would have to say it's twofold. If the Eagles come away with a cornerback and an edge rusher in the first round, I'm extremely happy. If the Eagles come out with a wide receiver and an edge rusher in the first round, I'm happy, because they've addressed two needs on both sides of the football. And they still have high enough draft capital in the second rounds, third rounds, to get some more players that can fill the void. And knowing Howie like I know him, he'll sit back after the draft is all said and done and look at all the free agents out there and see if they can get a low-tier free agent to come in here as a veteran to help this team as well. So if they can get one of those two combinations I just mentioned, I'll be happy that the Philadelphia Eagles have done their job.
Yeah, I think that's the combination we're all expecting.
Yeah.
Some people still have linebacker on their mind, that there's a possible chance. I just don't see it now with what everything was brought in. Even though Devin Lloyd can be used as a weapon to rush the passer, I just think that, we're going to have players on the board that we are definitely looking at. And Howie said that this linebacker draft is deep, meaning that, if we take one, we might get one later in the draft.
If they do go linebacker, and to me, that's a slim bet. But I don't know how we don't know how the board's going to play out. We don't know what's going to be available. If he's on the board, which I don't think he will be, the only linebacker I want to come see here is Nakobe Dean, for two reasons. Number one, he played at Georgia, and Georgia's loaded with quality defensive players. And number two, I think Nakobe Dean is a shorter version of Micah Parsons. I think this young man is disruptive. He can drop back and cover. He can come off the edge. He can come up the middle. Don't judge him by his size, his diminutive size at 5'11". He can step up, stick in the hole, and take on linemen and shed linemen. He can go under them and get. He's the kind of guy you put all over the field. When a quarterback steps to a line of scrimmage, you better know where Nakobe Dean is going to be, just like a Micah Parsons. Micah Parsons didn't win Rookie of the Year by accident, okay? And I think Nakobe Dean could be your next defensive Rookie of the Year. Even though he's only 5'11", like 220, this kid can flat out ball. And we saw that in his last year of college football. This kid can flat out play. And if he's on the board, I'd grab him in a minute.
There we go. That's a little hot take. And I agree. I think Nakobe Dean, you just look at, everybody wants to go to the measurables, but measurables that's not out there on Saturday when he was wreaking havoc in the SEC, right? He was wreaking havoc, and I got to agree with you there. But, hey, thank you for your time. Enjoyed it, and we'll see. I'll be checking out Sports Take, your show. And listen, everybody, if you haven't checked it out, go to Jacob Media. What time do you guys film?
We're on from noon to 3 live every day on the Jacob Media YouTube channel. Barrett Brooks, Rob Ellis, myself, and a cast of thousands. You never know who's going to pop up on the show at any given moment.
Exactly. And I guarantee they're going to have a lot to talk about Friday morning when they talk about this draft. Until next time, y'all know what time it is. We out. Peace.